So now we make the second front build order video. Oh, let's see if I can. Oh, that's bad. I lost track of my ACU. For me, it's pretty important to place my factory here because I want to be closer to the hydro. It's quite important. If you place it here, then you have 3 engineers which we will bring to the hydro that have more distance. I like to do 2 maxes and 1 pigeon. That's so I have some mass and some power income, which will be critical outbreak. The maxes and this pigeon will be critical to make us able to make as fast as possible factories here. Yeah, and we want those factories here. It's pretty aggressive, but this is a meta build from players like me, which we will face all over the place at players over 1800. Yeah, you want to build as fast as possible factories, and you want them to be built before you get into the middle. So that's why you need a little bit mass income early on, and you need a little bit power boost to be able to produce a lot of factories, which cost a lot of power early on. Important is also to make this move command here, because otherwise your ACU will like move like here, and then it will first of all need a little more seconds to arrive in the middle, and you will break those trees, which can be useful later on to be reclaimed for power. So just do it like this, so it will be faster in the middle. I'm not scientifically, it's not scientifically proven, but I think this is one of the best spots. No, that is important. Okay. You will see the difference to the air build. To make it work, to make the factories possible, I go here and reclaim those chunks here early on, because I will need them at this very timing to run my engineers building the factories. If I would skip those, there would be a huge delay of like 30 seconds where you stall. You will see in a second. Your first engineers in this case don't go to the hydro. You make also those maxes, and then you make 3 pigeons, and then you go basically as many factories as you want. You can optimize that if you want. Optimized here is that they don't move, they go like they're perfectly in the middle, so that they reach both so they reach both points, and they immediately start to build power. So that's very time efficient. There's no engineer wasting time moving around. So that's very important. So, let me think. Next engineer is going to the hydro, getting all this reclaim. Then the 4th engineer will go also here, reclaim the power here. I do it here because this is basically the first, those are the first trees that get broken by your own units. So you can later on reclaim this and more that, but those are the first trees that get broken by the units you produce. So you want to get here as fast as possible, so you get the option to reclaim those without getting them broken. That's why I do it like here. You will see that this engineer will be quite efficient here over time until the first. So then you get this power. It's very important. You see we are about absolutely 0. So that's very important that you get this power. So a little bit negative. Could have been a little bit more efficient for me if I would have played 100%. And then I go pigeons. You can get here storage later on. also good to get this engineer here, because otherwise this engineer would not have been done with reclaiming the trees here. And now we go again, 3 engineers to the hydro. That's what you need to get enough power early on. There are other options as well, but I suggest that's how I play. And if you want to build order, that works on front, so you can take that absolutely. Okay, so now it will be a little bit more hectic. You have to put your engineers here, and you have to do your build queue. Maybe you have a finished build queue, but I play differently. It depends on what I see and what I know and what I want. Usually we can go 3 tanks, scout, so you see something. Then you have to decide whether you want to make mobile AA or arties. I prefer, I have to be ready for anything. But what kind of units you do is up to you. You could only go Mantis, but what you always want is some intel, and you won't have radar early on, so you want scout here and there. But that's what normal build order for me looks like. Well, in this kind, and in this specific case, probably not so many Medusas, as they are not so good. Okay, so let's proceed. Okay, 3rd engineer. Yeah, then now there are a lot of options how to continue. We do basic. We couldn't go no more aggressive on factories and go and assist already. So we get this factory and the next factories even earlier. But this is the more eco-based engineer. You get 2 maxes, and then you get also your engineer to reclaim. Don't forget this little thing here. And then you could also go now with this NG, but we go the eco route. This is where the trees will be broken, but we already got all this. Then we should take the additional reclaim, use the next engineer. Now you see eco balance is quite nicely. We use our mass, and yeah, we would have been broken on mass if we didn't reclaim this here. I wasn't able to show it to you, but we wouldn't have enough mass and would have stalled. And now the eco balance is quite perfect. We have some power spare to use the mass, and the first maxes to be upgraded. Get the next maxes. Playing front can be very hectic, so it's not that easy as it might look here. I'm very used to it. But if you want to know how players like to play it, then here you see it. I get basically as much maxes upgrade as I can in terms of power, but I don't want to stall, at least not for a long time. So I have to wait a bit. And the rest is now a lot of micro. Yeah, you want to micro as much as possible. You want to micro your reclaim engineers. Yeah. Assisting maxes is also good. Assisting the maxes to be finished is good because this drains 60 power. And as soon as it finishes, you don't need those 60 power anymore. So that's why it's always quite nicely to boost your maxes to be finished. It's not only because you have the power, the mass income earlier, it's also you cut off the power it needs. Yeah, because if you upgrade by 6 maxes at the same time, that's around 360 power. That's too much. 360 is my total power income without building it, so I couldn't do that. So if you want to upgrade faster, you don't do it by upgrading multiple maxes. You do it because by using some of your early engineers by boosting it. Yeah, around this time they would have already been fighting on the front. Yeah, and then there's not about Buildorder, it's about fighting. I suggest making as much units as possible because you want to secure the reclaim field. Yeah. This engineer also opens up a little bit more time for your ACU to move around and shoot because you have another engineer getting mass, but you should protect it. Always watch your rally point, so it's not like here at the base or here, because if you need units, then it might be too late. It's all about efficiency. But you don't want your rally point into the middle, because then all the units would maybe just walk into the enemy ACU, but you not want as well. So this build is until any harassment, until any bombers and so on. Up then you have to do different things, but depending on how many engines get killed and so on, or critical engines that you power, and so on. Yeah, and you should go always try to get the reclaim, which it's very hard also for me. I don't get the reclaim perfect on the front game all the time because there's so much to micro, but you want to get this reclaim here, and you want to also get this reclaim here. And you basically only need 1 or 2 NGs at each spot. Don't do the mistake and send like 10 engineers on one spot, which will happen because you forget to change it. This is what makes it difficult. If you want to be a good player, you have to change the reclaim commands all the time because you don't want 10 engineers in one spot. Yeah, then you fight, and then after that you get options like take 2 air to drop your units if you have too many, or you make just more and more units to overwhelm your enemy. What also is important is that you don't want to waste time. That's what I also do. This is basically enough power for the first build order, but you want more power later on. By doing them here, I spare a little bit of time where I don't need the exact power, but I don't forget it to do later. So you can just queue what you want. You can also build them here, for example, and then it's like 30 seconds later. You can basically, yeah, that's by using the distance, you can basically program a little bit when you need what. But what you want is enough power, and this is without teams here. This is a little bit harder because otherwise you could have access to overflow from your team, or if you ask for it. But in this case, we're pretty low on power, but we get a lot of mass, which we would not get here because there's not another ACU here contesting it. So if you have around 6,000 mass reclaimed on front, or 6,500, you have basically a big chunk. But you already see it's like 6 factories here producing units, 7 producing still engineers. And at some point you want to upgrade your ACU if you can. If your enemy is attacking you, you want either take 2 or gun on your ACU. The balance is bad because I would normally now like minute before and would upgrade faster and so on. Yeah, the second build. Okay, so trying to help people with build orders. I didn't make a script for that, so I just go into games and start with some build orders I play that I know. It's not all build orders that are possible, but it's some build orders, and I will explain my my thoughts about the build. because I explain while doing the builds might not be executed perfectly, but that's what you get now. So we start with the front build. Actually one of the easiest builds, maybe not for many people, is Bomber. Maybe some people are not aware. Got some tips about that. So first Bomber means you go straight Air Factory and then straight Bomber, and I always build a Scout. I think Bomber only is bad. Then I go to front, but I make an additional move command to avoid breaking my own trees, and set up already my AC reclaiming, so I don't have to do it later on. Okay, so that's enough for now. Actually, you could queue up even more, depends on what you expect happening on front. Your biggest danger is an enemy that makes labs early on, so you can't make tanks. And I go always like a route here or here to avoid that the bomber gets scouted early on. You want your enemy to be aware of the bomber as late as possible. That's why I also delay my scout. I don't want my scout arrive early. You will need an engineer reclaiming trees, but it's not the first one. For me, it's the second one. If I make a tech move. The first one is better here because you can get power fast. But the timing is important. The timing is here. You need to correctly reclaim. Queue up your power. It's like basically how much I do. And in the meantime, you can bomb your enemy. Yeah, you need to be a little bit faster, because otherwise it will fuck up the micro. Okay, so after now you bomb a little bit. Basically, let's make a short break to explain something. What you want to do is to bomb like make 1, 2, or 3 bombing runs, depending on whether there's a mobile anti-air. And if you realize there will be mobile anti-air, you go to maybe the beach player and bomb here engineers, or you can go to their player as well. Going to the beach player is lately pretty more effective because of the double ACU meta to the middle. That means the beach player is delayed a bit, and that's why it's probably more effective to bomb him, because he will be later on interceptors and so on. Otherwise, it's recommended to go for the air player to annoy him. What you also don't want is to lose your scout. At some point, depends on what you see here, you go back and scout whether there's some shit from your enemy. And if your enemy does some really weird shit, like 5 labs or so, you can bring your bomber back. It's not recommended. And if you have a good timing, then you can also use your ACU and shortcut here, like go here, to intercept labs that go this way. It's pretty simple. I mean, it's only 3 engineers per minute too, and then ACU that's only reclaiming, and 1 unit. So pretty few macro only. But it will be complicated because you have to micro two spots that are very far out, and that make it, yeah, that's why it's sometimes critical, and you might end up making multiple mistakes. So, but I will do some further explanations here, because what you want, and when it's functioning to be your normal base build, is when you bomb anywhere here where it's important, your ACU is hopefully on auto reclaim, so you don't have to. What you don't want is to micro your ACU, and you want to have 3 engineers here, and then you go and expand. I only suggest to use 2 engineers expanding, After that, you want to go building factories to support your ACU in front. Your mid enemy should be delayed, but you still want to have this is important because otherwise you would have too few power now to build factories now. See, power is critical. Hydro is finished now. That's where it's up to preference. I like second reclaiming engineer here for more power. Yeah, and from now on, the game will be quite normal. You have to decide when you go more reclaim, when you go more teching on maxes or more unit production. But you never should use to upgrade too many maxes and make too many factories because both is pretty power intensive. I like to play aggressive because there will be plenty of mass, and then yeah, go ahead. Assisting, take those maxes. Yeah, so that's bomber first on front.